everybody! If you're watching this video, it might mean that you have a nursing interview coming up. Well, congratulations because you already passed the first test. Your application stood out in front of who knows how many applications out there, and now the interview is a way for the employers to get to know you and to see if you're going to be a good fit for the company. Looking back at my own interview, I just remember being super nervous. I was living in a different city at the time, so I had to drive 2 hours. Interview was at 8 a.m. I remember being freaked out about where to park. After I found a spot, I freaked out about where the unit was, and every step of the way, I was just worried that something was gonna go terribly wrong. And once I was sitting there, I was just anticipating and worrying until they called me in. When I walked in, I saw like 4 people sitting across from me, all ready to talk to me. I went in and I shook everybody's hands, and of course this was before COVID. One of the nurses actually complimented the shoes I was wearing. I wore this pink kitten heel with silver bows on it, and she saw it and said, "Oh my god, I like your shoes. She's got good taste, she's hired." Not that it's the reason I got hired, but it did relax me and break the tension a little bit. I feel like nowadays with Zoom interviews, you can never have interactions like that. When I did a Zoom meeting not too long ago, it just felt like a whole different experience. Obviously, there was no handshaking, but all the interviewers were wearing masks. I couldn't tell who was asking me questions, and the whole experience definitely felt a little bit more cold and distant. Like I felt like they didn't get a chance to get to know me. For that reason and for that interaction alone, I will always vouch for an in-person interview. But no matter what kind of interview you do, there is definitely a way to answer some of these questions, and so today we're going to go over some of the most commonly asked interview questions. Nursing interviews always start out the same by asking, "Tell me a little bit about yourself." This really is an introductory question to get to know you. You can talk a little bit about your past bedside experience or why you decided to become a nurse. If you are a new grad nurse and haven't had any bedside experience, you can talk about some of the community work or volunteer things that you have done that really solidified your reason to become a nurse. The next question that interviewers really love to ask is, why do you want to work at X, Y, and Z? And in order to answer this question, you are going to have to do some research beforehand on the company. Mission statements or achievements that they have done in the past are really good things to mention here. For my hospital, I talked about how it is a Magna status hospital, which really cared about nursing excellence and growth, and how I really want to be part of an organization like that. Next, employers love to ask situation-based questions. So they might ask, "Tell me about a time where you used your critical thinking skill to benefit a patient." What this question is trying to find out is whether you can think under pressure. As bedside nurses, we are always with our patients, so a lot of times when something is wrong, we are usually the first person to recognize it. So if you can use a scenario where you've helped a patient, you can talk about it here, or something along the lines of escalating a patient's symptom. If you are a new grad nurse and haven't had any bedside experience, you can still answer this question. You can talk about your clinical placements, your volunteer work, your mentorship programs, your residency, anything like that where you've helped patients. Other than situational questions, employers love to ask psychological questions and something along the lines of, what is your best and worst trait? And this question can be kind of tricky to answer if you haven't thought about it ahead of time. You don't want to dig a hole for yourself and talk about a trait that you might have that will disqualify you, but at the same time, you want to be as honest as possible. The purpose of this question is to bring forth an issue that you have noticed about yourself and what you are currently doing to improve. For example, if you say that you used to be very shy and timid in public environments, you are actively trying to improve yourself by proactively making small talks or recommending team bonding experiences, things like that to put yourself out there. When talking about your best trait, you want to be mindful not to sound too boastful or prideful. You want to pick a trait that's going to benefit the company. Traits like that you get along with everybody or you have made lifelong friends are good things to mention because those show the employers that you are easy to get along with and that you will get along with the rest of the team. Another question that employers love to ask is, what is your 5-year goal? And what this question is trying to find out is how you see yourself down the line. Mainly, the employer is trying to find out whether you're going to stick around if they do hire you. Employers do not want to invest all this time and money in somebody who isn't going to stay and jump ship after just a few months of working. Keep in mind that some hospitals might try to trick you by telling you have to sign a contract stating that you will work there for a certain amount of years. Just so you know, in California, I don't think that is legal and employers should not do that. So it is good to mention some aspirational goals here. You can talk about how you are interested in joining a unit-based council, going for a leadership position, or even pursuing a higher education. Things like that are really good to talk about because it will show the employers that you have thought about your future. Lastly, interviews always end with, do you have any questions? It's good to have a few questions ready to go because it will show the employers that you are really interested in this position and you've thought about how you will fit in. I love to ask about what the culture of the unit is like, how long will my training be, how much training will I get, and if there is a day shift list. Asking about the culture of the unit is really important because you want to know whether the unit is friendly and if they're going to welcome and accept you. If you're applying for a specialty unit or a unit that you do not have any experience in, it's super important to ask about how much training you will get because employers are required to prepare you if the job requires you to take on patient population that you haven't cared for before. When I started my job, I had to take cardiac boot camp where I learned about LVADs and transplants and Flowlands and things like that. And by the end of my training, I felt more prepared to take care of those patients. Prior to that, I came from a tele unit that mainly did heart caths and cabbages and didn't have any experience managing the transplant population or the pulmonary hypertension population. If the manager tells you that if you need more training or help at the end of your orientation that you can have more time, those are usually really good signs that the unit will help you and not let you drown. If you're applying to be an inpatient nurse and it's in a hospital, nursing care is 24 hours. That means there is a day shift list and there is a night shift list, going for 12 hours at a time. And with that, day shift is usually a lot more desirable to work because you don't have to stay up all night. New employees start on night shift and based on the list, they will move to day shift when the time is right. Sometimes these lists can be quite long and the waiting period can be 1 to 2 years, which is why it's super important to put yourself on the list as soon as possible. Night shift can actually be pretty nice if you're just starting out in a new hospital, if you're a new grad, where usually you have a little bit more time and it's not as busy. So that is all I've got for now. Thank you so much for watching. Best of luck to all of your future interviews out there. If you enjoyed this content, please like, comment, and subscribe, and I will see you in the next one. Bye!